And welcome back to CentralCoastRadio.com. Well, now I'm going to chat about a brand new French film that's in cinemas. It's called On the Wandering Paths, and many of you out there are probably going to know this film from how your friends are describing it as that Jean Dujardin film, because Jean Dujardin is definitely the star of this movie in that he's in just about every scene throughout the film. Now, he plays a character called Pierre, who is a famous writer and explorer, and he's made a living out of going and visiting travel destinations and doing kind of dangerous things and then writing about it. But his life changes when he's a very fun-loving guy and a bit of a party guy. He goes to a party one night, gets drunk, and then has a terrible accident which leaves him in a coma, broken bones galore, and at some point it looks like he's never going to walk again. Now, he makes a promise to himself that to atone for the stupidity of what he's done, that the moment he can walk again, he's going to walk across these ancient paths that will take him right across France, and he'll write about it. Now, people around him tell him that he's crazy, that he's never going to be able to do it, but this film is told in two halves, so I'm not spoiling anything here. And those two halves are kind of intercut all the way through the film. He does set off on the walk, and there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of stuff that happens on that walk. Now, this is where I have a problem with this film. If you think back to the film Wild, that film told a story. The character in Wild was on a journey, was on a personal journey to repair her life, and you felt for that character. Now, this is where I have a bit of a problem with this film. Stuff happens on Pierre's walk, but the more dramatic stuff seems to be over in just a second. Now, again, I don't want to spoil anything here, but to put that into context, at one point Pierre has a medical episode, and it's a life-threatening medical episode, and it's over just as quickly as it happens. Luckily, at that point in time on the walk, his friend is with him, so he gets to hospital really quickly, and the next scene that you see is him recovering and well. The film, it feels like that the director, Denis Imbert, doesn't know how to bring suspense into it. That was the perfect moment to have the audience thinking that Pierre's life is in danger, and you get to know this guy and you get to like him. You want to see him succeed on this walk, but it feels weird because there'll be scenes in there where the guy's having like a really mundane conversation with somebody sitting outside a restaurant, and the director will give 10 minutes of time to that discussion. Nothing wrong with that. It's great dialogue, so it works. But to then have a moment where Pierre's life is in danger and it's resolved in just a couple of moments, it feels out of whack, like with the way that the film should be. Likewise, how far he's covered with his journey is at the bottom of the screen, with titles all throughout the film, and you seem to see a lot of the first 500 to 600 kilometers, and then after that it just goes really, really quickly, to the point where at one point I thought, I must only be like 3/4 of the way through the film because of his count of how many kilometers he's gone, and then all of a sudden the film was finishing. It really feels like this film needed a lot more suspense, that there's something in there where the director and screenwriter just hasn't understood the fact that what suspense can actually get out of this film. The performance by Jean Dujardin is absolutely amazing. So is the cinematography, and so is what you see of France. Like, this film makes me want to go to France and explore these areas, but at the same time, there needed to be more in this story. Like, we've seen a few of these films now where people set off on a walk of self-discovery or repentance, and you need something to set yourself apart from the rest, especially considering that some of the ones that have come out of America, I mentioned Wild, and there's been a couple of others where people have gone to live in cabins and trying to find themselves. Those films have been brilliant. So if you want to match those films, you're going to have to match their brilliance as well. And I just don't feel like On the Wandering Paths actually does that. Amazing, like I said, amazing scenery, great performance by Jean Dujardin, but the film doesn't offer much more out of that. So I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5. It is on limited release, so check your local cinema guide to see if it's showing near you. But 2.5 out of 5 for On the Wandering Paths, and this film could have been so much better.